stocks are soaring and the Trump economy appears to be firing on all cylinders. A ton of crazy things have happened just in the last 48 hours, and now stocks are green all across the board. The market has now had a few weeks to digest the true impact of tariffs, and they are starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I have some insane videos to show you, as well as one of the best summaries of the Trump economy strategy that I have ever seen. So let's get all into these stories, but before we do, as I've always said, my name is Clayton Kearns from TrendingPolitics.com. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel and like this video for more videos like this, especially if you like economic news. We're going to be talking a lot about that all the time. So as you see here, a lot of the top stocks in the market are just absolutely soaring. We got Amazon over here up by 3%. Let's take a look at the broader index of the markets. We have the, let me zoom in a little bit here for you. Here on the right side of your screen, you see the S&P 500 is up. And again, we have a couple hours left in the trading day. The S&P 500 is up 1.56%. The Dow is up 1.16%. The NASDAQ is up 2%. And the Russell 500 is up 1.94%. And things are just appearing to be firing on all cylinders. Even though Trump has said that the tariffs are still going to go into effect on April 2nd, which is next week, the market is shrugging it off. There are two things that are happening. Number one, they understand the United States is the world's biggest customer, which we are going to get into here. And these countries cannot afford to retaliate with tariffs as the size of the tariffs that we are putting on them. They have no choice. We are going to come out on top in this scenario. But the problem is that most people, they can't stand the pressure. Over the last few weeks, Trump stood strong and he stood firm in his beliefs, and he did not cave to tariffs. He did not cave to the market bleeding red when everyone was sitting there and saying, Trump, you got to do something. The market is falling. Guys, it wasn't like this was some huge crash. In fact, on this topic specifically regarding to tariffs, let's take a look at what CNBC expert Tom Lee had to say about this. He literally said, we're probably going to get the best of all worlds from this tariff situation, and it was completely overblown and overselling. And again, this is why we're seeing the market bounce back in such rapid fashion.
And FundStrat's managing partner and head of research, Tom Lee, a CNBC contributor. It's good to have you. What do you make of this report? I mean, part of the uncertainty of all of this has been the, iron fist, maybe olive branch. Back to the iron fist, maybe an olive branch. What do you make of it?
Well, I think markets should interpret it positively, because I think when we talk to our clients, many are viewing tariffs as punitive, potentially protectionist, and driving several economies into recession. This sounds like that we could actually have a positive case scenario with these tariffs, one that's either mutually agreed upon or if it's reciprocal, but maybe a good deal for businesses. And I think it would set the stage for a much bigger recovery rally than we expect.
Afterwards, right?
Yes,
I mean,
after.
The problem is the paralysis, if you will, between now and then. Like, what are we supposed to do over the next 10 days?
I mean, that's the dilemma, right? Because we still have 8 trading days till April 2nd. Most investors are getting just nauseous from the volatility, so they want to throw in the towel. But we also know that markets will bottom, or have historically bottomed, before the event actually happens. The best example is the Cuban Missile Crisis. 1962, that was a 12-day crisis. The stock market bottomed 7 days into that crisis, recovered 2/3 of the losses before the resolution. So I think that's a decent template for today.
And so again, as I said many videos ago, I personally, and this was not financial advice, I was personally investing into the downturn, investing into the chaos. And it appears that there is a huge scenario, like a likely scenario, that stocks could have bottomed, and everyone was so scared about all the whiplash and all the volatility, and they were either selling stocks or they were just freaking out. And now, before April 2nd, people could have missed the bottom and not taken advantage of the prices that were available to them. And so the Kobasi letter, Adam Kobasi wrote up something very, very interesting. Basically, he says we're at an inflection point, that these next few weeks are going to be crucial. He says, price action ahead of a recession. The S&P is down 6.5% since its February 19th peak, after briefly recording a 10% drawdown in early March. Historically, if stocks sequentially drop another 5% on average within the next 150 days, the U.S. economy was in a recession. However, if stocks recovered all previous losses within the next 120 to 150 days, a recession was avoided. In other words, a prolonged stock market declines usually precede economic downturns. In the past, stocks have tended to peak about 6 months prior to the onset of an official recession. The next few weeks are crucial. And so take a look at this chart that he posted here. We are basically right here in this red circle, all right? So if we start to rally and we start to rally hard, we are officially in the clear, and it's going to be a lot of golden age ahead of us, okay? And speaking of the golden age, we'll get into this video here in a second. Number one golden age story of the day is we have Florida gas prices drops to lows not seen in more than a year. Okay, we talked about gas prices, egg prices. The UAE just pledged $1.4 trillion of an investment in the United States. I wonder what's different. I wonder why they didn't do that in the last 4 years. It's called Donald J. Trump. Furthermore, South Korea, Hyundai announces a $20 billion investment in the United States. They announced a $20 billion investment in U.S. onshoring. The investment is expected to be announced Monday at the White House. A new steel plant in Louisiana, which is part of the investment, is set to hire roughly 1,500 employees and will produce next-generation steel that will be used by Hyundai's 2 auto plants to manufacture electric vehicles. More U.S. jobs, more U.S. manufacturing. And let's take a look at more details on this situation. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. Let's watch.
South Korean auto giant Hyundai will announce a $20 billion investment in the United States when its chairman visits the White House today. Sources say that pledge includes $5 billion set for a steel plant in Louisiana with plans to hire 1,500 employees and produce next-generation steel for Hyundai and Kia cars. That move comes after similar investment commitments from SoftBank and chipmaker Taiwan Semiconductor earlier this year.
The Trump effect is real. American jobs are coming here to the United States. I mean, take a look at just some of the investment pledges over the last few weeks. We have the United Arab Emirates, $1.4 trillion. Saudi Arabia, $600 billion. Hyundai, $20 billion. Apple, $500 billion. Nvidia, SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, Taiwan Semiconductors, all over $100 billion. Merck, $1 billion. I mean, Johnson & Johnson, $55 billion. When you are the cheerleader of America, as Trump is, and he's the cheerleader of the American economy, good things happen. And so this is Trump. We're not going to watch this whole video here, but this is Trump talking about all of the, people that are coming back into the United States and all of the jobs and all of the manufacturing that are coming back into the United States. In part because they know that President Trump wants jobs back here. They know that they want money that he wants money invested in our country. And furthermore, the threat of tariffs is legitimately real. Let's watch this.
We had a very, very good cabinet meeting. We're on our way to some tremendous numbers. I think, first of all, many companies are now moving into the United States. They're coming back. Some of them left us from many years ago, decades ago, and they're all coming back. We have probably identified maybe $4 trillion worth of companies moving back or going to move back. Many of them have announced it's going to be tremendous jobs, high-paying jobs too. And you probably know the chip business, not because of the CHIPS Act, which was a disaster. You gave billions of dollars to companies that already have many billions of dollars. They said thank you very much. It was no incentive for them to use it. But what is good is the tariffs will make it so that they want to come back. That's why they're coming back. I think they're coming back because of the election that took place on November 5th and because of the fact that they have to come back because the tariffs are forcing them to come back. And remember, there are no tariffs if you build here, and that's a big factor. So we have record numbers. Howard was just telling me the numbers that we're talking about are crazy, beyond anybody's wildest expectation. So they'll be doing a lot of building, all sorts of businesses, including the basics of automobiles. We have, as you know, Honda is coming in with a massive plant to Indiana, but there are many plants that are happening, and literally some are started already. General Motors is already redoing plants that were half abandoned, or they have plants that weren't being fully utilized.
This is what's called the golden age. More American jobs, more American production, more American manufacturing. jobs coming back to the United States, investment into the United States, and this is something that Kamala Harris would have not been able to do. You know, I have a crazy liberal friend, and he always sits there and says like, oh my gosh, do you feel regretful of your vote? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. First of all, we're like 60 days into the administration. Like this guy, one of my friends, he shilled for Biden for 4 years. And I'm like, wait, our administration's only 60 days long? That's crazy, because I thought they were 4 years long. Let's judge the Trump administration, the 47th administration, on the entirety of everything that's going on, not just based on these first 50 days, which by the way, the first 50, 60 days have been a huge smashing success. The other thing I want to talk about before we get into the final video of the day here is Tesla stock. Man, it is absolutely roaring. Let's take a look at this here. So Tesla, ever since Tim Walz basically made fun of Tesla for their stock dropping, it is up 20%. 20%. Let that sink in. Tim Walz made fun of Tesla. He said, hey, anytime that I wake up and I feel I want a little bit of boost of energy, I just take a look at Tesla stock because it's tanking so much. Let's take a look. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. So we can't see it on the screen here. Anyways, this little red arrow that you see here on the bottom left corner, that is where Tim Walz made fun of the stock. And literally ever since then, it has been a straight line green up and to the right. So Tim Walz must be having a really hard time. He was basically mocking the stock. And honestly, it probably would have been a very, very wise thing for anyone as soon as Tim Walz said that to just immediately buy Tesla stock, which I did. And then another good economic news, this is literally just less than an hour ago. President Trump said that a rare earth deal with Ukraine has been reached and it will be signed shortly. So more good things happening there. And then the final video of the day here is I want to show you is one of the best summations of the Trump economy strategy that you've ever seen. And it's actually, it took a foreign-born man to actually break it down when most American liberals just can't even do it for themselves. And he straight up says, love him or hate him, this is what Trump had to do. And the thesis is very, very simple. He says, look, we need to cut the deficit, cut spending, increase revenues, which we are going to be doing through tariffs and other things. And just watch this. It's really incredible. I highly recommend sticking around.
Think of Trump, his economic plan makes complete sense. The US has 36 trillion in debt. In 2025, they will spend 6 trillion, but will only collect 4 trillion in revenue. So they need to borrow 2 trillion, and this will increase their debt to 38 trillion. Trump's economic plan is based on 3 levers. Number 1, cut expenses by 1 trillion, which is Doge, Elon Musk. He's targeting waste and fraud, like social security payments for people who are 150 years old. That is just fraud. 2, increasing revenue by 1 to 2 trillion through, number 1, tariffs. They will increase tariffs from 50 billion to 500 billion target. People will say, but other countries will retaliate. They will not be able to do it. The US is the biggest customer on earth. They consume 20 trillion every year. They are the biggest importer. They import 3 trillion every year. Plus, the current tariffs is actually not fair. Why should US cars entering Europe faces 10% tariffs, while the European cars entering the US just pay 2.5%? It's not fair. And because of the tariff changes, it now makes economic sense to build factories and businesses inside the US again. That means more jobs, means tax-paying businesses, and more foreign investment coming in. He will also increase revenue by deregulation. He will remove unnecessary regulations and rules, making it easier to do business, so business can grow faster, generate more tax revenues. He also make this gold card, which is offering lifetime US residency for 5 million. I think at least 1 or 2 million individuals globally can afford it. So if just 10% of them, if just 100,000 people buy this card, that's 1 trillion in incremental revenue. The third lever is he will reduce taxes. If he successfully cut 1 trillion in waste and expenses and add 1 to 2 trillion in revenue, the US will have a surplus. They will have more money than they want. So he will cut taxes. For individuals, anyone gaining more than 150K, he will make them pay 0 taxes. And on corporate taxes, he will go down from the current 21% to 15%, compared to the European average of 22%, France average is 25, I think, and Germany is 30. So at 15% corporate tax, the US will become one of the most business attractive countries on earth. Bottom line, this is exactly how government should be run, efficiently. Because when you eliminate waste, the money can actually go where it is actually needed, to the elderly, to the sick, to people who cannot work. And that is the real purpose of government, to protect the weak. Very few countries have the political will to do it. It takes leaders with backbone, charisma, and clarity of vision. Do you have leaders in your country pushing for real reform, or are they talking about non-relevant side topics? And let me know if you think Trump's plan is bad, let me know why, because I think it is just common sense.
And it really is common sense. At the end of the day, every single point he said there makes 100% sense, and it is how our government should be run. And as he said there at the end, it takes a leader with a backbone. It takes a leader with strength. It takes a leader with will. Someone who is not going to cave when the market turns red for a few days, or in the case of the last few weeks, a couple weeks. And it's not easy to be able to stomach it. But Trump is like so steady and so resilient, and he does not move. And this is the exact leader that we need in our country at this moment. So if you enjoy everything that we talked about today, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. You have no idea how much it helps us. And comment below and let us know what you think of the Trump economy and how things are going. So I will talk to you later. Have a great one.